This is normally where the kids play, but not now. There's nobody home waiting for Ismail Samir when he returns from work. His wife and 2 children have left the border town of Akçakale to stay with her parents in the countryside. Samir packs a few things together before going to visit them. He misses his kids terribly, but the sights and sounds of war were too much for them to bear.
Every night, we'd go to bed afraid of the next day. And the next morning, that fear would go on. Would something happen again today? The slightest noise would make my daughter cry and say, "Dad, there are more bombs."
Despite what these images might suggest, life in Akçakale is no longer normal. Mortars fired by the Syrian army have repeatedly landed in residential areas here close to the border. Ömer Timuçin lost his wife and 3 daughters to a major mortar attack in early September. A string of politicians have since come here to offer their sympathies to him and his son. But what the car mechanic wants is action, not words.
There's a limit to patience. Turkey finally woke up after this attack. I say to Assad, surrender power so that the killing will stop, and then leave the country.
The Turkish army has since been reinforcing its troop presence along the border and retaliating with artillery fire. The border crossing in Akçakale has been closed for some time. The area has seen plenty of cross-border smuggling at night. Not just food and medicine, but apparently also arms. The area directly over the border is controlled by the rebels. The Syrian government has blamed the mortar attacks on them. That's a charge the local commander denies.
It was a deliberate provocation. The Assad regime is weak and therefore wants to internationalize this war and get Turkey involved.
The rebels would certainly welcome Turkish military involvement on their side. Ankara has already permitted the Free Syrian Army to treat its wounded in secret makeshift clinics inside Turkey. In addition, the Turkish Red Crescent is sheltering more than 100,000 Syrian refugees in tent cities. Damascus now sees Ankara as an enemy. The Turks, in turn, are threatening open war on their neighbor. While the Turkish Minister of Defense gears up for an intensification of the conflict, the health authorities have been dispatching counselors to the border towns and villages. One of them asks a local woman how her children are doing.
As soon as they hear a bang, they panic. There was a wedding here recently, and the fireworks made them hide behind the sofa.
They've not slept well in weeks, explains the father. He's just bought some sedatives from the pharmacy. The government officials give the children a bag of candy to soothe their nerves. The population's problems are worsened by the economic fallout from the conflict. Most businesses in Akçakale are now closed. The Kurdish community has fled, and there are no more customers from Syrian towns over the border. 2 years before the civil war broke out, Ankara and Damascus agreed to lift mutual visa requirements, which was great news for the transportation sector.
Traders from the entire region would come to Akçakale to cross the border, arriving in the morning and returning in the evening. We did very good business.
Most of those who can leave the war zone. Ismail Samir's parents-in-law live 10 kilometers away from the border, a safe enough distance for his wife and children, he says. There's no machine gun fire or shelling to be heard here, but the family are still very worried.
We feel safe from the mortars here, but my husband still works by the border. I get worried when I can't reach him on the phone.
A politician said the Turkish army would need 3 hours to deal with the Syrians. But here by the border, we prefer to live in peace with the other side.
But with no end in sight to the civil war in Syria, that peace will be a long time coming.